So let's go around the room, and I think you need to turn it the other way, otherwise it'll be, there you go. Excuse me. A couple words on how everybody felt. You want to go first?
Sure. I actually started tearing up when we were doing the self-love affirmations to infant baby self, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why were you tearing up, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm not completely sure. I feel like it's partly just related to where I am, like in general. Like I've been trying to specifically do a lot of self-love, and that was just like bringing me back to those spaces, and it just felt really good. I think that's why. Yeah.
Cute.
For me, it felt very positive. I've been doing a lot of work with my own therapist about reclaiming that, so it was really nice to connect and reinforce the work I've already done.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Enjoyed a nice session.
Excellent. You go.
I think it was nice because a lot of people like me were speaking on last meeting we had.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people in their childhood didn't have someone to say that they loved them and that they were beautiful and that they were going to make it and be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that pretty much touched, my area because, let off a little of my stress because I have been holding stuff in, from childhood. And that's just to reassure myself, it was good.
Glad to hear that.
It was positive for me too, and I felt like I was told that and given that kind of message when I was a baby.
Excellent.
And growing up, so it felt comforting to kind of be in the embrace of that love again, but it was different to give it to myself. And I think it's good to do even if you do have had a growing up experience that was positive and filled with love, because it feels good to give yourself those messages and your young self those messages.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciated that.
Thank you. How was it, Mom? I know you were juggling your beautiful boy.
I was juggling a little bit, but I was also listening. So, I don't know. It was hard for me to take it in. I know. But yeah, it was hard for me to take it in. Probably because I didn't have any of that. I had a very hard infancy and early childhood. So it was just really hard to be like, okay, I love myself and I love baby me, because that's not familiar to me, and I really struggle with self-love.
Thank you. How was it for you?
It was interesting. I had to, I'm actually surprised that I was able to, but I pulled up images of my mother and my father roughly at the time that I know from pictures. I have a very vague awareness of the place that they would have been when I was born. I was born at the most financially insecure point in my parents' marriage, and I have an older sister. And my birth was actually traumatic for her. They left. They left her in the middle of the night. She was like 4 years old and woke up to like a scratchy TV. So it's just a chaotic time. But I was able to picture what I created to be as myself. I'm wondering if I just kind of made it like my niece, but me, a hairy little brown baby girl that I could visualize. And yeah, it felt good. Just interesting to think about how much of my childhood is like so foggy. Yeah, maybe vague.
You want to speak, Tess, from behind the camera? You can video me and talk.
Yeah, sure.
Or I can hold the camera and video you.
It doesn't really matter.
What do you want to say, dear?
I will just be very honest and say that as has happened before, when Samsarah leads me in meditation, I allow myself to slip closer to the realm of sleep and out of the realm of full consciousness. So I can't say that I brought too much of what I experienced back with me into the realm of full consciousness, but I do feel quite relaxed and comfortable.
That's good. That's wonderful. I'm happy to hear that. So I heard many things, and some of what I heard is some of why this work has been so powerful for me in my own life. Inner child work is one of the guiding principles of my existence. That and, like, you know, belief in God and universal goodness. And it's necessary because we live in this culture that really, patriarchy is really harsh on humanity. It just is. So for many people, when we finally have an experience through meditation or a healing process of hearing these words, it does bring up sadness. I'm hearing, I'm happy you're here, I'm so glad you're a boy, I'm so glad you're a girl, I'm so glad you're transgender, whatever. Folks have not heard that. And so very often these beautiful words, oh, and it's back. Thank you. So very often these beautiful words can bring up sadness and longing. And that sadness and longing is exactly what attachment parenting seeks to address and diminish or eliminate for people. That inner pull, that inner sadness, that that magnification of the realization that we're alone in the world, it gets over dramatized in the culture that we live in. And in fact, this culture that we live in prides itself on us all being individuals pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. And nobody is spared from this, not even our infants, not even babies going inside of their mothers. Like mothers, corporate mothers are really taught to like pretend that they're not participating in a miracle. Like, forget that. Because if you actually pay attention to what's going on in your body, you're not going to get the report in on time, and you're going to get written up, and you're going to lose your job. So women don't get to have that sense of the inward blossoming goddess that they are when they're having babies. Nor do gentlemen get to have the joy of watching a life that they helped co-create come into the world, because they have been much longer than women, sadly, put in a box of they have to go off to work. Whereas if we look at how people who live closer to the earth live, papas are never too far away from their families. You know, children have access to both papa and mama all the time. Unless there's some drastic thing going on, a drought or something that causes people to have to start going far away from each other to sustain the family group. Family groups, we know, were like 60 to 80 people that hung together. Little tribes, parts of bigger family groups, but little family pods, like 60 to 80 people. So people got to know each other really well. And they were really close, and they were bonded. As I said earlier, you know, this attachment parenting thing, it's kind of annoying to me as a person of color when, you know, European folks with a lot of letters after their name put a label on something that my grandmother did naturally and didn't get to make any money off the book of the fact that she had the good sense to do this. So that's irritating. But I'll just say that, you know, my definition of attachment parenting is that what we seek to do is to recognize the humanity of our children. And we seek to give priority to those needs, even though that might inconvenience us. Okay? And it only inconveniences us because we live in this culture that pulls the parent away from the child. Our culture pulls spouses apart and pulls mothers from babies all the time. You're actually a good parent if you put your kid in the crib and walk away from it and let it scream if it needs you. You're actually making the kid tougher per this culture by letting the kid scream itself to sleep, because it's going to get soft, it's going to get spoiled. Oh my God, that's the most hideous thing. A spoiled child. And what is a spoiled child? A child who asks for what it wants and gets it is seen as spoiled in the culture. I really invite people to take another look at that. You know, I really think it's part of just us reclaiming our humanity, to take a look at the fact that when you decide that you're going to be somebody's parent, that is an ongoing relationship that will require what might feel to be sacrifice. That we're here to give to these little beings. They didn't ask to be brought here. We brought them here. And that once we've made that decision, then we have to sign up to the best of our ability to meet the needs of our human babies. Human babies have a tremendous need for touch. Tremendous, tremendous, tremendous need for touch. You cannot touch them enough. You really, really cannot. You cannot spoil a baby under 1 year of age, for sure. Definitely. Now, if you have a child that you're giving material objects as opposed to your love, that I would say is a type of spoiling. That's more of an affluent kind of spoiling your kid. Like, I don't want to deal with you, so I'm going to send you to a big expensive school. I'm going to give you the iPod so you can be out of my face and I can go do other things, and I'm not going to be with you. But that's not what we're talking about at this point. For a little baby, for a baby growing inside of its mother, for a little baby newly born, it is imperative that that baby and that mom have skin-to-skin contact. That baby and that mom are not individuals. Babies in mama's bodies, and babies outside of their mama's bodies, I'd say even up to 2 years of age, are still the same person. Our babies get born when they do, because if we actually stayed inside of our mothers until our brain was really all put together, we could never come out. Like, we're fancy monkeys with very big heads and big brains. So once the baby is born, that brain is not anywhere near fully ready. Baby can't talk. Like other critters, other mammal critters, once they're born, they get up and the little baby horse runs away. And the mother's standing there going, okay, come back when you want to eat, right? little baby humans need all that loving that Deanna's giving to our friend over there, you know? And they don't need... Absolutely. Absolutely. So little baby humans, all that touching and hugging and loving that we instinctively want to do with our babies, no one should get in the way of that. Even Papa. Of course, Papa should have time, and of course, Papas get to hug and kiss and love too, and that's a good thing. But there is something about that mother-baby bond that cannot be replicated with another person. There can be good people that step in and attempt to do that, like, say, grandmas and grandpas and other people. And it's good if good caregivers can come in and do their very best. But there will be a little rub, and you'll see as children grow up, even adopted kids who are put into beautiful homes where they're loved and they did get their needs met, still have that little bit of a yearning, that little bit of a feeling that they might have to work on in their lives. And you know, if it's not a great big deficit, they'll do all right. It's not the end of the world. But if we can have the person with whom you were absolutely one with for that 9 months available, that would be the absolute best thing, right? Followed up by a sweet, loving Papa, and then surrounded by a community whose goal in life, like a sane community, in my opinion, is a community that realizes there's nothing more important going on in our community than babies being raised to be happy, healthy adults. There is nothing more important, nothing. That we cannot have safety, we cannot have serenity, we cannot have true financial abundance, we cannot have anything that we value without happy, healthy human beings on the planet. Okay? So we have a sweet young mama who's raising a son. We need to be geared to helping her do that. How can we help you? That should be what we're asking her all the time. And we all live in the United States of America, and we know that that's not happening. That's not happening in a very big way. So little baby humans are born with the need for sucking. They need to of course be nourished. They need to be held. All of this touching and holding and breastfeeding is helping their brains lay down what's called the neural net. The neural net is the like, call it the highway of the brain. It sets down the tracks for all kinds of future behaviors, future life choices, the ability to feel empathy for other people, the ability to feel good about themselves. All of that, the ability to learn algebra when you're 12. All of that stuff is laid down in the first couple of years of life. And we have all kinds of different studies which you can look up, and I can send you over email if you're really wonky about those things. Some people are, but there's a lot of wonderful research coming out to show how important that time is. Not only for the baby, but for the mama. There's a whole section of the mama's brain that is turned on by childbirth. If you hook mama up to a brain scan machine, a mom who's unmedicated having her baby, you will see her brain firing off all over as she feels the sensations of birth, and as she goes with it and breathes and asks for water and curses people out if she wants to, or roars like a lion when she wants to. All of that's going on, and her brain is cooked in wonderful chemicals, and it's a whole section of her brain that lights up that wasn't lit before she had the baby. And if she has a medicated birth, that area does not get lit up. Now, there may be other things she can do after the birth to turn it on, but it's important to know that during that birth, that part of her brain did not get turned on. I will take your question in a second. I hear you. I believe that for some women, this is why they have postpartum depression. This is why some women have postpartum depression. This is why some women have a hard time bonding with their babies. Because that part of their brain, which I will just call like the mommy part, or the mommy section of the brain, or the third eye, because when you talk about moms having that third eye that you just kind of know when something's up with your kid, that our grannies used to talk about all the time, I think that is that part of the brain that gets turned on. You just have a sense about your offspring. So while we take the comfort of the medication, we're not even going to get into the side effects of the medication right now. But while we take the comfort of the medication, because we don't want to sacrifice we don't want to feel sacrificed by the pain of childbirth, we are potentially denying ourselves the possibility to be bigger as women, maybe. Because that's not just about raising kids. Having bigger intuition and deeper thoughts, clearer empathy is helpful for us as human beings as well as mothers, as people on the planet. We may be denying ourselves that possibility to be bigger, deeper people than we were before we had a baby. Maybe nature thanks us for having babies, and maybe we're denying ourselves that gift. You had a question.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I totally know what you're talking about when you say that when you have a birth with drugs in verse 1, that isn't medicated. There is a really big difference. I have an eldest who's 5, and they gave me morphine when I didn't want that. They said that it was fentanyl, but it ended up being morphine, and I was way out of it. And then I had a beautiful, blissful water birth with him, and everything was so different. I wouldn't like classify it as like a real orgasm, but definitely that's what I was feeling, and that oxytocin was not something that I had felt with my daughter's birth at all. Pure fear is what I felt then.
Thank you for sharing that. We really want to have big ups for oxytocin. That's our friend. And we want to, encourage mamas to know that, aside from the lies we're told, we're told a lot of what I believe is foolishness about Christianity, and a lot of things that come from a misunderstanding of the Christian Bible. And, this whole thing about women being punished in childbirth. And I can have another workshop on that another day. But I'll just say right now that I have more respect for God than that. And I believe God really loves women. And their blessings. I think that it's challenging to have a human infant because we are challenging creatures. We're complicated. And so everything about us is complicated, right down to how our babies get born. But that does not have to be suffering. We were talking about Buddhist concepts earlier. The work of having a baby doesn't have to be suffering. It's about how we are supported and how we choose to go through that. And that if we can be present for life, if we can be present for what childbirth is, if we can be present for what parenting is, we can find deep satisfaction in it. Just in not even being a pregnant or parenting person, just being alive from day to day, if we can just take pleasure in our being present and alive, the day has a different quality than if we focus on the struggles, right? If you focus on the struggles, you're going to want to drink or some potato chips or something. But if you focus on like, wow, isn't this miraculous? And I'm sitting here on the couch with these beautiful people, and we're all breathing, and we're getting a little bit of rain when we've had drought. I mean, there's so many. The gratitude list can start to be very long if we let it to be. If we let it to be. So my focus in this talk is to talk about doulas, because this is a doula training. I want to talk about how doulas can help this process of attachment. Doulas work with all different kinds of families and different socioeconomic groups. And it's interesting because I find like my teen moms don't have to be told half of this stuff. My teen mamas, that child is the most amazing baby doll they ever had in their life. They tote the little sucker everywhere with them. You know, and they were just like, where's my baby? I'm like, okay, mama, here's your baby. Okay. And I want that. I like to hear that. That's good. Makes me happy. They don't tend to put the baby in the crib down the hall away from them unless somebody starts telling them to. It's usually like a mom or a grandma who gets on their back and says, you're going to spoil that baby. I really wish we could expunge that from our society. And I know a good part of it, especially for African American families, is recovery from the trauma of slavery. And what we had to do when we were slaves is to not bond with the baby. It was hell to bond with the baby, because you could go to sleep that night and that baby would have been taken away from you. You never see it again. So to make it not hurt so much, to make it not rip your heart out, you did bond with the baby. Now that was a sad but wise thing to do in slavery, because you had to live, you had to keep living, and you couldn't be towed up because you could potentially be killed, right? But now we're no longer in slavery, and it's really important for us to realize that we still have the memory of that in ourselves. We have the memory of our great-grandmother's pain, our great-great-great-grandmother's pain. And we need to release it so that we can be there to fully love and embrace our kids. You know, if you see somebody giving a child what you didn't receive in your childhood, the temptation is to want to stop and interfere. You feel uncomfortable. You see a mother kissing a baby. Some people get really like angry. You notice that? And I try to have compassion. I know that's a traumatized person, and that person's inner infant is going, I didn't get that. Feeling sad about it. But that doesn't mean that person needs to mess up, or has the permission to mess up the good thing that's going on for that baby and that mother. Okay? The mother gets so much from being close to her baby, and the baby gets 50 million times more. The oxytocin between mama and baby is getting that baby ready to live a full human life. It's helping that mama's body make milk for that baby. Mamas and babies instinctively just want to stare into each other's eyes all day long. It's another thing that my mamas report to me all the time. I can't stop looking at this baby. And little human babies are programmed to find a human face and lock. And you see them do that. It's precious and adorable. They will look for a human face and they'll lock in on you. And it is a hypnotic scenario between whoever's looking at that baby and the baby, but especially with the mama and the baby, because stuff happens in the mama's brain and the baby's brain that doesn't happen with other people. That's sweet and perfect. Mom's body's helped in recovering from childbirth. Her breasts are told to start making some milk because baby might be hungry. Baby gets to realize, oh, this is mommy's my safety person, my first safety person. I can make little motions with my face and she'll know. She'll read, oh, I'm hungry. I'm important. I matter. People will stop what they're doing and come and take care of me. I'm valuable. When you let your baby lay in a crib and scream for hours, you're saying, I'll get to you when I get to you. Okay? I pray that that's not the reality. We have to push back against that big time. And really, ultimately we have to change our society as a whole. But for now, what we do with our own kids in our own home, we can have control over that. So in our own homes with our own kids and with children that we love, we'll do our best to, have them have the attention that they need. And what happens is that as they get older, after they've had that mirrored to them, they become very reasonable human beings. Attachment parenting kids can wait. They have less tantrums because they haven't been yearning for attention since they were that long. They haven't been screaming for food and they haven't been screaming for presents since they were that long. If you know pretty much, I'll make a peep and mommy will come. She'll be here with the breast or the bottle or whatever it is I need. Then you're calm within yourself. You have trust in the environment. You have trust in the people around you to take care of you, and you have strong sense of self-esteem. So in the little sheet that I gave you are just a few things that I've written down in ways that I feel that doulas can be very, very helpful. I started talking about my little teen moms because overall I see them, they need a lot of help structurally, like societally, but they don't tend to need a lot of help with being close to their babies. I see them organically wanting to do that unless somebody stops them. I see my middle-class mamas having a hard time with this because they're very, very distracted with the computer and the iPhone and the iPad and work, and being really pressured to come up to this corporate standard of life. They have to really prove that the baby hasn't changed anything. And if they're in a really high pressure job, they're terrified now that they fall too in love with the baby, that their work's going to suffer. I've seen some families make drastic changes in their life because of that, and good changes, like they've decided, well, maybe I don't need to be such a corporately driven person anymore. Maybe I need to work from home or do some other things, and I really encourage that. I think that's wonderful. Not all families feel that they can do that, and it's not about judging them. So here are some tips from Samsarah about how potentially folks can do, how doulas can help folks do the best they can based upon their story. Okay. So one of the first things on my list is that I want and I request for doulas to support natural childbirth and home birth as much as possible. At the very least, if a mama is going through even a birth in the hospital or birth at home, a completely natural birth with access to all of her hormones is going to be helpful for her. It's going to be helpful for the baby. All the hormones flowing through your body help draw you towards the baby. Giving birth with all those hormones raging, when you see very often, not all the time, but like moms who've had a C-section or moms who have highly medicated births, they don't even want to touch the baby. And it's like, I don't want to see it. But when you've got a full dose of oxytocin on board and the other hormones on board, you are like, give me my baby. That's what we want. That's what we want.
That's great.
You want to work to ensure a prenatal bonding between the mother and child. Sometimes mamas, again, say a mom has had a miscarriage history or an abortion history, is not attached to the baby in her body. We want to ask her to, chit chat with that little one. This little baby you're going to keep, this little baby's is going to be with you. You know, whatever trauma release work we can help the mama do. If we know about hypnosis, we can do that. Or if they're in therapy, have them talk about it with their therapist to release the pain and trauma of, say, babies that are miscarried or babies that in the past had to be aborted. To make a space of welcoming now, because this child is going to come into the world. And so let's make a space of that this child can come into with joy, you know. We want to encourage the mom or the couple to talk to the baby in utero, play games with the baby in utero. You know, there are fun little games like the flashlight game that you can shine on the mama's belly and the baby will tap where the light is. They want to help them to feel like, oh, there's a person in there. Now folks are kind of doing that a lot with sonography, and I have my issues with that and around the potential health possibilities or problems with sonography. But again, that's another workshop.
What is that?
Sonograms?
Oh, thank you. My brain wasn't connecting.
Yeah, and that was also, sonography is another word that, you know, wasn't saying sonograms. But there are ways to bond with the baby without, you know, the technology. Feeling around, trying to figure out which is a leg and what's a back and all that fun stuff that midwives just organically will teach a mom to do. Doctors don't tend to focus on that much, like the actual time that an OB spends actually looking at the woman's body or even touch. Some OBs never touch. But if you've gone to a midwife, you know that the midwife's all over and teaching you where the leg is and, oh, that's the baby's head. And that's beautiful stuff. It helps the mom really connect with, oh, this is a person in there, and it guides her actions. So it helps her. Like if she's not feeling hungry, she'll remember, oh, a baby's in there. A baby's hungry. I'm going to feed the baby. Yeah. I like to encourage the family to name the baby. Even if you call the baby Shrimp or Peanut or Cutie Face or whatever. Again, that's another little thing that the couple can do to bond with the person that's growing inside of them. It's really helpful for daddies too, because a lot of really devoted, wonderful daddies, but they don't really have a connection with the baby. They have the connection with their spouse. And they kind of love the baby. The big moment for a lot of daddies is when the baby is born. That's why I love, like at the birth center, midwives will let daddies catch their babies, because you can just see like that moment becomes real for the papa. Like, wow, this is a person. This is a kid. It's my kid. Oh my God. So actually, one of my most favorite moments of being a birth worker is seeing daddies claim that for themselves. We want to respect cultural differences around this, because some cultures don't want to do that. Some cultures have, again, in my belief, is trauma from coming from situations where, say, in Europe, where there was a lot of babies that died. And so people didn't bond with the baby. Some cultures won't even buy anything for the baby. Don't even have baby showers until the baby is born, and they are sure that the baby's going to stay with us. So I don't want to disrespect that. I might make an offer, and the family will explain, well, this is why we don't do that, and then I let them have that, and then we'll have a big festa after the baby's born. But I talk about it with them anyway, so that even just subconsciously that connection is flowing without being pushed by me. Okay? And you want to encourage immediate and ongoing skin-to-skin contact after the birth. There's really no real medical reason for a mother and child to be separated from each other. None. No matter what the hospital says. The baby is not going to grow or lose pounds in, the first couple of 2-3 hours after birth. It's not. It's really, really important for the mama and baby to smell each other. Just like all the other mammals, we are not different from all the other mammals on the planet. Mamas and babies need to smell each other. That's another way that communications are made with the brain. Chemicals are released that are getting the mom ready to be a mom, getting her body ready to nourish that child, giving safety to the baby, getting the baby ready to nurse. Very, very important that they smell each other and they kiss each other. Mama kisses the baby, and bacteria from the baby gets into her body and does all kinds of wonderful turning on things. microbes from the mama get into the baby through her breast milk to turn on the baby's gut so that the baby can digest the milk. The colostrum is one of the things that colostrum does, is the early milk that the baby gets, not really milk, but it's early and incredible, powerful superfood that's given usually in the first 2 days after the baby is born. All of that turns on the baby's digestive system and gets it ready to digest the milk that the baby's going to eat today and the grilled chicken that it's going to eat 2 years from now. Some people have digestive issues their whole life because that turn on never happened. There are people who are going to holistic providers who are being given colostrum from cows, made cotton from cows, because they didn't get colostrum from their mothers when they were younger. Very important stuff. So we want to encourage mom to kiss, smell, lick her newborn. Let her know that she might feel an impulse to do that and that it's completely normal. We civilized folks doubt our organic nature. We think we're weird. Like, it's weird. Like, I want to lick the baby. That's weird. Like, no, actually, that's totally normal.
I'm always reminding my parents that we're animals.
We're animals. We're just fancy monkeys. I say it all the time.
Oh, I like that.
We're just fancy monkeys that, we can do algebra. Big whoop. We still need to lick our babies. We still need to kiss them. And babies love that. Little newborn, mommy licked it. She'd be like, oh, all thrills and chills for everybody. Daddies also feel these wonderful impulses. Daddies, when they smell their babies, it's something really beautiful. I personally love the smell of newborn human beings. I love the smell of amniotic fluid. Thank goodness I'm a birth worker, because it would be like really hard to smell that otherwise. It's a beautiful, fresh, wonderful smell. And at home birth, at the end of a birth, everyone's full of love and goodwill because everyone's high off the oxytocin. We're all like, I love you! And the midwives are all hugging each other. It's beautiful. So everyone gets to enjoy it because the mom and the baby are radiating these beautiful pheromones into the air. It's a sweet, sweet scenario. Encourage daddies to bond with their babies. There was a study that I read quite a few years ago that said that home birth daddies who witnessed the birth of their children were over 80% less likely to ever be abusive. And I believe that. I really believe that. It's such a heart-opening experience. Of that feeling that, and also it turns on within moms and dads and family members, that part of you that would lay down your life for your child, that part of you that will do anything to keep this little life safe and to help him flourish and help him see him be a grown man one day with maybe his own little babies. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna cry. What makes us want to do that? Bye, sweetheart. What makes us want to do that? Where does that love come from? Those hormones are a big, beautiful part of it. Remember that newborn babies are not dirty. They are not dirty. Inside of mama is a sterile cavity. There's no dirt in there. We have to take a look at all of these crazy negative messages that make all parts of women's bodies crazily dirty sand traps that have to be disinfected and scoured. It's ridiculous. So cute. Newborn babies are not dirty. They don't need a bath. And as I said earlier, mamas and papas and loved ones need to smell them and kiss them and lick them.
There's also cultural stuff around that, about bath that I've experienced. Some beliefs around the baby, not wanting the baby to smell because that invites evil spirits. So
Interesting.
You need to wash the baby, and that washing the baby by like elder women in the family, grandmas or aunties, that becomes something that's their role. It's like a blessing, and it's a bonding experience, and so they want to do that soon, and then that grandma or auntie will come over, every few days to watch the baby.
Interesting. What culture are we speaking of?
Nigerian, I think they're Edo.
That's very interesting. I want to do some homework on that. I am wondering, is the baby taken away immediately after birth to be washed?
No.
Do you know?
Well, I was her doula. It was a